So we looked at the difference between physical hunger and making sure that you identify, well, how do I feel hunger? So we know that whether or not it's physical or psychological hunger, looking at psychological hunger as what am I need that I'm trying to eat, instead replacing that need with eating instead, to bring you up, that dopamine, to get that little neurotransmitter hit. I always call it the dopamine hit. But I want to go back to where you were talking about building that habit that we've conditioned ourselves to almost avoid. Would I say avoid? Is that?
Yeah, kind of. Avoid wouldn't be a bad way. Where you're trying to essentially replace it and come up with a new thing. We develop, like you said, those habits that we need to figure out a new replacement for. A lot of it, some of it stemmed from COVID, as you had brought up earlier, where a lot of isolation with the military. It's because we don't have time to eat, so you eat when you can, and then it becomes when you're back and you're not deployed and you're able to eat whenever. Well, now it's just a habit that you've developed. Trying to break away from it isn't necessarily the easiest thing.
Kind of hanging on to that structure.
Yep, and it's the one thing you still have left. No one's yelling at you anymore. You just eat.
Or rushing you, giving you time limit to eat.
Yeah. Everybody remembers those boot camp experiences. 5 minutes to eat.
Yep.
But you kind of develop those habits, and finding ways to replace them is the hard part, because what's better than eating something good? But you got to find a habit to replace it, and have a new path to go down to condition yourself. When you feel hungry, instead of eating, you're doing something else, reading a book or going for a walk or anything that you can enjoy.
So I'm wondering, looking at some of the reasons that our psychological hunger, right? It may be loneliness. I think a lot of times it is portrayed as boredom. We're just bored, when it's much deeper than that. So it's good to identify those, but I'm almost wondering that if it's an avoidance. Are we avoiding something and that's why we're trying to fill it with food? No, it's just a thought. Maybe, dig in and say, am I really avoiding something?
It could be, and stress is another big thing that it can be.
Stress is definitely.
Yeah, stress is definitely stress eating. I mean, there's a term for it, stress eating. But avoidance is a good one where, it could be just that, where you're avoiding, you have schoolwork, you have something with work, you have relationship issue, you have something you're trying to avoid. So
I should really exercise and do that salsa dance.
No,
but I'm
not the
avoiding
salsa.
it.
I'll eat the salsa, not the dance.
So I'm avoiding that, which would increase my happy hormones.
Be beneficial.
Yes.
I'm clumsy. I'm tripping. So I don't know how happy I'll be at the very end of that one.
We don't need to do it perfectly for it to be effective.
But no, it's definitely something that you're using to try to avoid or cover up some thing that you may deem as a flaw or an issue or anything of those concepts.
So do you think that it's important for people to identify that?
Yes, very important. You want to not only identify it so you can keep moving in the right direction for it later on, but you also want it to be something that's not sitting in the background causing a problem that you don't realize. It's just like...
Yeah, you don't want to bury it.
Yeah, just like your car, when you get that check engine light, you want to get it fixed. You don't want to leave it alone. It can cause more problems in the long run.
Hey, I have some good analogies on that. We'll bring them back later.
But you want to know about it at least, so it's something that you're not having hindrance you in the beginning or during different times when you're not thinking about it. You want it to be something that, oh, hey, it could be this, and you know about it at that point, so you can avoid it or correct your path, however you want to kind of go about it. I
like that, because when I look at doing any type of change or behavior change in clinic, in which is weight loss is behavior change, we're changing our habits, is we present it in a way that it's an experiment. So test this out. Does that work for you? is that beneficial? Because what we were talking about last week, what was beneficial for you and your experiences may be different for somebody else. And me as a dietitian, I can't dictate that. I can't tell you what you need. We really need to experiment and say, hey, this is really what I needed instead of food. And this works. And I'm no longer with that food fight, that struggle, trying to eat everything and it not working, still feeling like, wow, I'm not satisfied. Satisfaction is important. So I love that idea of the experiment and experimenting with what works for you.
Well, and everybody's going to be different, so...
Yeah, they're not going to want to salsa dance.
Yeah, no, not everybody. I agree with those people that don't want to. I made the mistake of bringing it up. I'm never going to hear the end of it.
I know we will. But we will, not until we can get them out there dancing. That's going to be the key.
But no, yeah, everybody has their own different things, and I mean, obviously everybody has their own different likes. So having the understanding of where you're coming from is definitely the benefit.
That's great. Yeah. And looking at this, I think everybody deals with the psychological hunger. And, my recommendation is to start out with one step in identifying, what's one thing that I can do and test out and see does that work? So if you put that piece of paper on the refrigerator and you identify that I have psychological hunger, and you may not even know what it is yet, right? You don't know what you're trying, what do you need instead of food, but take that time, that contemplation. And what we do is we say, sit with it. So you just sit with it. No judgment. Don't judge yourself. Don't get angry with yourself. There's no judgment with it. You're just sitting with it and exploring and thinking, what is it that I need instead of food? Am I really bored or am I lonely? Do I need a project to work on to feel accomplishment? Do I need social interaction? Where's my friends? I haven't seen my friends in a while. Maybe I need a vacation. That's my favorite. Or maybe I do need to exercise or get out there and be physically active, get out in the sun. Coming from Wisconsin, there can be a lot of cloudy days, and that sun can make a big difference.
Big time.
So getting out, just sitting with that psychological hunger and deciding, what do I need? And start to make those little baby steps in that direction.
When you talked about the list, what kind of things would you have on it?
Oh, the one that we put in the refrigerator? Yeah, good idea. So it'll say the signs of psychological hunger on one side, and we'll have this link for you all to use in the bio. The psychological hunger, it comes on quick. And it's fleeting. It can't be satisfied with simple food, right? Because it's not physical hunger. Physical hunger hormones will shut off. Psychological just keeps on. So you always are going to remember that searching in the refrigerator or the cupboard and eating and still feeling that hunger. It was not satisfied. So we have an entire list of some of those symptoms. Everybody may have different ones that they experience. And then the physical hunger, it will go through also the same symptoms or signs that you're physically hungry. Your belly's growling. It's been a while since I've eaten. I am ready to eat a horse. So that's not an extreme. We don't want to be at that point. But some do get to that.
Frowned upon.
That is definitely a sign of physical hunger. Very frowned upon. So we'll have those listed side by side. I do recommend putting them on the refrigerator and start to say, oh, wow, am I really physically hungry or psychologically?
Yeah, and it gives you something that you're seeing that you might actually, that's me right there.
Yep. And whether you want to lose weight or not, I think everybody should go through this experiment. And we start to learn more about ourselves and some of our habits, some of our conditioning that we've developed over time. And you will feel so much better when you identify some of those and realize, I really need to go out on a walk.
Yep.
Or I need time to laugh.
Yeah.
You turn on Kyle.
Yeah, I definitely do that enough. So you talked about this list and everything. It's me, myself, I'm going to be going through this journey kind of with some other people that are paying attention and trying and wanting to change So, and I definitely want to, and so I guess I'm gonna have to get this list from you as well and put it on my fridge. So let everybody knows how that goes. You know,
This is going to be interesting.
kind of figuring out. So I'll be right there with you guys.
Yep. So identify it or start to approach it as an experiment.
Exactly.
And report back what your results were.
And kind of changing gears, changing the ideas and concepts that I already have in my own head, and even with having some of the knowledge that I have and some of the knowledge that you've shared with me, and we still can make, you know, not the right choices, even with all the knowledge you can possibly have.
Yeah, knowledge is not application. Just because we know it doesn't mean that we apply it or attach the action to it.
Exactly.
So my recommendation is always one baby step at a time. What can I do tomorrow? What can I accomplish? One thing that I can do tomorrow or within the next couple days. So step number 1 is print off the list.
Yeah.
Put it on the refrigerator.
Find a printer.
Right. Yeah. So we'll all be interested to hear what Kyle's results of that were and see if your experience was similar to everybody else's. Yeah, great.